Anti-vax protesters gather at Parliament House in Perth. Hundreds of anti-vaccination protesters affected by Western Australia's mandate have protested outside Parliament House in Perth. The demonstrators voiced their outrage amid a strong police presence, with some laying out their work uniforms, hard hats and boots on the Parliament steps. Protesters held signs with the slogan, "No jab, no job, no way," while others chanted angrily condemning the McGowan government's vaccine mandate. The rally coincided with Wednesday's deadline for certain occupations and industries, including police, firefighters, corrections services, border and air transport and meat workers, to have had their first jab in order to continue working. Workers in residential and non-residential community care services, not captured by previous mandates, must also have had their first jab by December 1. The protest comes after an unvaccinated police officer launched a Supreme Court challenge against the mandate on the alleged basis that the chief health officer had exceeded his powers under the Public Health Act. West Australian Premier Mark McGowan said he was very confident the state would win the case. This week, Mr. McGowan warned his government's strict COVID-19 vaccine mandate would remain in place for years. More than 75% of Western Australia's population aged 12 onwards have been fully vaccinated. Starting from January, jabs will be compulsory for about 3/4 of West Australia's workforce. Approximately 1,000 people have protested outside Parliament House on Wednesday, angry at the West Australia government's introduction of vaccine mandates. December 1 is being called D-Day, the day when workers across a wide range of industries must have had their first dose of a COVID vaccine in order to keep their jobs. FIFO miners, police, and community care workers, to name just a few, must be single-dosed by December 1 and double-dosed by December 31. Those who refuse to comply could face fines of up to $20,000 or even lose their jobs. Protesters on Wednesday laid high-vis FIFO vests and hard hats on the steps of Parliament and held placards with slogans such as "No to medical mandates" and "Coercion is not consent." Former Liberal candidate Andrea Takaji addressed the crowd, saying vaccine mandates were causing pain. "These directions cause harm and suffering," she said. "These directions violate the Constitution." Other industries whose workers must be fully vaccinated by December 31 include port, transport, and freight workers, health and aged care staff, fire and emergency services employees, abattoir and meat processing workers, and prison staff. Staff at supermarkets, groceries, restaurants, pubs, and cafes, as well as childcare, public transport and construction workers must be fully vaccinated by January 31. All teachers and school staff must be fully vaccinated by the start of Term 1, while Tier 3 workers, government employees, members of parliament and other retail workers must be fully vaccinated in order to attend work in the event of a lockdown. Representatives from many of these industries appeared at Wednesday's protests, with one placard reading, "Fire and rescue say no to medical mandates. I've given my life to the mining industry and also helped the community in many ways, and now I feel like I am a criminal because I haven't taken a vaccine that isn't trialed or tested," one protester told media. "I've got guys on site that are coming up to me and saying how proud they are of me for not getting the vaccine." Anti-vaxxers have leveled violent threats against West Australia Premier Mark McGowan and his staff in recent months, forcing the closure of his electorate office in Rockingham. "The anti-vax thing that's really come up quite prominently in the last couple of months has obviously been a bit of a surprise to me," Mr. McGowan said on Wednesday. "People choosing to give up their jobs because they read some conspiracy theory online, they'll regret it no doubt later in their lives." Assistant Police Commissioner Gary Drayberg said 40 anti-vax protesters gather at